Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another method of my madness, which is going through problems here in Keystone Winegate. So we had over here John Adams' record of transactions for the month of April were as follows. Okay, so assuming that periodic inventory records are kept in units only, compute the inventory at April 30th using LIFO and average cost. Assume that the perpetual inventory records are kept in dollars. Determine the ending inventory using FIFO and LIFO. Compute cost of goods sold, assuming periodic procedures and inventory is priced at FIFO. Okay, so I typically, when I go through and do these types of questions, I'm much more interested in doing this kind of a logical and methodical way. So when we're dealing with inventory costing, what we're trying to figure out is, and let's just kind of get it down to the raw elements. So when I record an inventory sales transaction, I'm debiting AR, I'm crediting sales, I'm debiting cost of goods sold, and I'm crediting inventory. And so what inventory costing is it's not about the physical flow of goods, it's how do I determine the cost here. So when I have my inventory, right, this is me, my beginning plus my purchases is going to give me my goods available for sale. So when I add up these right over here, this is going to be giving me my goods available for sale. I'm going to subtract out here what I send over to my cost of goods sold, which is what we're doing over here. We're going through and expensing it. And then once I do this over here, this is then going to be giving me my ending inventory. Okay. So when I look at this in terms of, from an overall perspective, my goods available for sale, no matter what method I use, will always be the same. So how do I compute my goods available for sale? So I'm going to look at each of my purchase dates. Okay, so my units were 600, 1500, 800, 1200, 700, and 500. And my cost per unit is going to be 608, 640, 650. Okay. So my total, when I multiply my units by my cost, basically by my cost per unit, this here is going to give me as you can tell, my Excel skills are weak. That's why I need to take Professor Kasoy's or Professor Mather's class, and I'm sure I will be doing that soon. Okay, so when I add up all these right over here, the total amount of my goods available for sale is going to be 33,655. That is a very, very important number because no matter what costing method I use, periodic, perpetual, whatever may have you, the total amount needs to equal the 33,655. The next thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to compute my units available for sale. So my units available for sale are going to be my purchases plus my beginning inventory, or over here of 5,300. So then what I need to figure out is my units sold. So in terms of my units sold, I had a sale here on April 3rd. I had a sale on April 9th. April 11th, April 23rd, and then April 27th. So my units sold is going to be 500, 1,400, 600, 1,200, and 900. So I'm going to disregard the sales price per unit because I don't really need that for this case, because that's not what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what is the dollar amount. Like this AR in sales, that's not really going to change. What I need to figure out about is the dollar amount I'm assigning to cost of goods sold. So over here, my units sold are 4,600. So let's put these over here. Let's move some stuff around. Okay. My units available for sale were 5,300. My units sold were here a total of 4,600. So my units in ending inventory are going to be 700 units. So the importance of going through when you have an inventory costing problem cannot be understated. Okay, so very important. So let's go through over here. So the first one is assuming that periodic inventory records are kept in units only, compute the inventory at April 30th using LIFO and average cost. So I'm going to assume what they're asking me for is periodic. Okay, so what they're asking me here is for periodic cost of goods sold, periodic ending inventory. So what I would do here is let's go through and do periodic. So what's the difference between periodic and perpetual? When I'm doing periodic, what we're going to do is we're going to disregard the dates of sale and assume all sales happened at the end of the accounting period. So, and if I go through and hopefully clear some cells, there we go. So, and just to kind of take a further step back, what am I going to be asking you for in this kind of type of question? So I'm going to ask you for periodic, or what I can ask you for is periodic FIFO, LIFO, weighted average. And I can ask you for perpetual, LIFO, and then weighted average. Okay. For each of these here, I'm going to ask you for cost of goods sold. I'm going to ask you for the value of the ending inventory. The sum of these two values will always be, for this question, they have to be equal to 33,655. Okay, so when I'm doing periodic, I disregard the dates of sale and I assume the 4,600 units that were sold were at the end of the accounting period. So I'm asked to do LIFO and average cost. What does LIFO mean under periodic? This is last in, first out. Last goods into inventory are the first expensed to cost of goods sold. So for LIFO periodic, I need to take 4,600 units to my cost of goods sold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start at the end here. I'm going to have 500 at 679. Then, so if I were to go through and let's go through and copy this. Okay. So once I have something here, What I need to do now, so for LIFO, I have 4,600 units to cost of goods sold. So once I take this here, this is going to be 500, and I just took this to cost of goods sold. So this is now going to go down to 0. I'm not done because I need 4,600 units. I only have 500 so far. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to go through here and take this 421.20. This is going to be 700 units at 660. Once I take this to cost of goods sold, this is gone. I then go over here to April 13th. This is going to be 1,200 units, and this is going to be at 650. And this is now gone. So I'm still not quite there yet because right now I need 4,600. I'm only at 2,400. So now I'm going to go to my next one. Again, this is last in, first out, so I keep on removing the layers. So I'm going to go to 4.8. For 4.8, I can take 800 units, and this is at 640. So this is also now going to be gone. Now, here I'm in a kind of a quandary because I sold 4,600 units. I had 5,300 units available for sale. So I have 700 units left. I don't want to take this entire 1,500 of units. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take 1,400 of them because I don't need the full amount. So right over here, and this is going to be at $6.08. And this here is going to be at April 4th. So when I add these up, right over here, it's going to be 4,600. So when I'm determining my cost of goods sold under LIFO periodic, and I add up these amounts here, I get 29,447. So if my cost of goods sold LIFO periodic is this amount, then my ending inventory, right? So just imagine this. You've got your goods available for sale of 33,655. I just sent over here 29,447 to my cost of goods sold. So my ending inventory is going to be 4,208. So if my goods available for sale is here less my cost of goods sold, is here. So then my ending inventory value under FIFO, so under LIFO periodic is going to be 4,208. Now, as you're going through and looking at this, there would be a much easier way for me to do this. And that is because so many units were sold. What I could have done is I could have said, oh, well, if all these are going to be gone, what's going to be left? Well, my ending inventory is going to be 600 at 6, and it's going to be 100 at 608. And if I showed that instead, if I said, okay, I've got gas here of 33,655, less my ending inventory of 4,208, this will give me my cost of goods sold. So whenever you see one of these types of problems, in this case here, I would have taken the other, I would have gone through and taken the other way through, because it's a lot easier to do than writing out each one of these guys here. So, and what you'll also notice here is that this is what I have left. I have 700 units. That's a constant, right? This is always going to be the same. So after I assign those 4,600 units, I'm left with 700 units at 608 for a total of 4,208. So periodic LIFO for cost of goods sold is 29,447. The ending inventory is 4,208. When I add these two up together, I get 33,655. Okay, so weighted average periodic is pretty easy to do. Weighted average periodic is going to be my gas divided by the units available for sale of 5,300. So my average cost per unit, and let's make sure this is not a fraction here. There we go, it works out. So I get $6.35. So this is the average cost here. So this is my average cost per unit. What I'm then going to do is for my cost of goods sold, I sold 4,600 units times $6.35. My ending inventory is going to be 700 units times 635. And again, it has to equal the total amount over here of the goods available for sale. So my cost of goods sold is right here. My ending inventory is right here. Okay, let's look at FIFO. Okay, so FIFO, first in, first out. So let's do this a different way though. My goods available for sale is always going to be, for all these questions here, is going to be 33,655. First in, first out. And whether we do a periodic or perpetual, we're going to get the same result for FIFO. So when I'm going to look at this a little bit differently, first in, first out. So I want to be lazy. So what's going to be remaining? Well, LISH, or last in, first here, is what we call it. So my ending inventory under FIFO is going to be on April 29th, 500 units at 679. And then on April 21st, because I have a total of 700 units in my ending inventory, I would have used here 600. I need another 1,500. Need another 800. And of the 700, I only needed 500 for a total of 4,600. So here I was left with 200 units at $6.60. So a total of 1,320. When I add these up, this is my ending inventory under FIFO. Okay, so over here, my ending inventory is going to be 4,715. So my cost of goods sold is going to be 28,940. Okay, and if I went through here, and I'll go ahead and let me copy this down because I'll need it again. Okay, so say if I went through here and I just wanted to validate that this was correct. If I change this to 0 and I change this to 500, which is what I needed here to meet my cost of goods sold, I sold 4,600 units right over here. This was my ending inventory. And so my cost of goods sold is 28,940. Okay, so periodic FIFO is going to be 28,940. And my ending inventory is going to be right here at 4,715. And again, when I add these numbers up, these all have to equal up to the magic number of my goods available for sale. Okay, so let's go to this next one here. So we've done assuming that perpetual inventory records are kept in dollars, determining the amount using FIFO and LIFO. So right over here, FIFO is going to give you the same result. FIFO periodic and perpetual are exactly the same. So over here, FIFO, periodic, and perpetual are exactly the same. Okay, so these two are going to be the same, but for LIFO, it's going to be different. And that's because the dates are kind of messed up here. So when we're doing a perpetual method or perpetual system, what we have to go through and do is we have to look at each date individually. Okay, and by the way, this is not asking for weighted average perpetual. There's no way I'm going to do it on this problem because it's way, it's not that it's overly complex, but I wouldn't give it to you like this with that many sale dates. But under LIFO perpetual, what happens is I'm going to go in chronological order. So here, so for LIFO perpetual, okay, the dates matter. So my sale of 500 units on 4/3. The only thing I can take from is April 1st. So I'm going to go April 1st, 500 units at $6 for a total of $3,000. Once I assign something to cost of goods sold, I need to remove it. So this is going to go down to 100. So this is going to be 500. Excuse me, this was 600 units. 600 minus 100 units. I then go to my next sale date, which is going to be April 9th. I sold over here on April 9th, I sold 1,400 units. Okay. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go last in, first out. The most recent sale was over here at 800. So I'm going to go to 4/8, 800 units. So this is now going to go to 0. Okay. But I'm not done. I need a total of 1,400 units. So I'm going to need to take from April 4th, I'm going to need to take another 600 units. So I'm going to be left here with 900 units. Okay, so this was at 608. Sorry, this was at the 4/8 was at 640, and this here was at 608. Okay. I'm done with this sale here. I now go to April 11th. When I go to April 11th, okay, I'm going to look over here, and I've got a sale of 600 units. These units are gone, so I'm going to need to take over here 900 units minus 600 from my sale on 4/11. Once I take out the 600 units from the 900, I'm left here with 300 units. So my sale on 4/11 of 600 units, I'm pulling these from April 4th. This is going to be 600 units. And this is going to be at $6.08 over here for a total of $36.48. Okay, now I come over here to April 23rd. When I come over here to April 23rd, I go here and look, say, all right, last in, first out. I'm going to first take from April 21st. I'm going to take all 700 units. This is going to go to 0, and this is at $6.60. So this here is going to be 4620. I'm not done yet though. I need 1200 units. I only have 700. So then I'm going to go here and take 1200 units minus 500 because that's how many more I need. I'll be left with 700 units. And this here will be at $6.50. And this is from my 413 sale. So we have my 413 purchase for $3,250. I go to my final sale here on April 27th, which is my sale of 900 units. Okay. So over here, I have a sale of 900 units. The most recent one is available to me is 413. I have 700 units there at $6.50. So it's a total of 4,550. Make myself a little marker here again. As I'm explaining this to you, there's an easy way to this problem, but I want to work this through. So, and this is going to be 700 minus 700 from 427. So this is going to go down to 0, but I'm not done yet. I need another 200 units. So I come over here to April 4th. I'll be left with 100 units here. So I'm taking 200 units from April 4th. And my price per unit on April 4th was $6.08 for a total cost of goods sold of $12.16. If I total these up, my total cost of goods sold is at $29,052. That's my total cost of goods sold. So if I take my goods available for sale, my goods available for sale is $33,655. I subtract my cost of goods sold under LIFO Perpetual. I'm going to end up with my ending inventory right over here of 4,603, which happens to be what is remaining. Now, if I looked at this problem again to make my life significantly easier, what I should have done is I should have said, okay, there's so many units being sold, what's in my ending inventory? And it would have been, I know that this 500 is going to be there because this is after the sale date. So this under LIFO Perpetual, I would never touch this because it's perpetual and it happened after the last sale date. So I probably should have approached this problem a little bit differently, but I think it was important to show you how to go through and to handle LIFO cost of goods sold and under the perpetual method. Okay, so it's a very important step. Okay. So the one thing I haven't done is weighted average cost of goods sold, but what I would like you to do is spend some time in the modules and go through and look at how I go through and do those for inventory costing. Okay, thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.